The orbital station hung above Earth like a silver crown, catching the light of the sun as it turned slowly in the void. Inside its gleaming corridors, Ambassador Taman Park walked toward the conference room where he would once again represent humanity to the Galactic Council. He had done this job for 12 years now, and each year felt heavier than the last. Taman entered the vast chamber where holographic projections of alien species filled the space around him. The avians with their bright feathers, the crystallines who looked like walking diamonds, the massive Coltarians who barely fit in their projection fields, and dozens more. They were all older species, all part of the galaxy, long before humans learned to leave their own solar system. "The human wishes to speak," announced Counselor Vex, his tone making it clear this was an interruption rather than a welcome contribution. Taman stood tall despite the condescension. "I come today to formally request that humanity be granted a permanent seat on the Council. We have served this body faithfully for nearly 3 centuries. Our contributions speak for themselves." The chamber filled with sounds that might have been laughter, though it came from throats and bodies nothing like human ones. Counselor Thren, an ancient reptilian whose scales had turned pale with age, leaned forward in his projection. "Contributions? You mean services. Very good services, we admit. But a council seat requires more than being useful." Taman felt his jaw tighten but kept his voice steady. "What more do you require? Our engineers maintain infrastructure across 200 worlds. Our doctors have cured 17 major plagues in the last decade alone. Our peacekeepers prevent wars that would cost millions of lives." "Exactly," Vex interrupted. "You are excellent servants, the best we have ever employed. But servants do not sit at the high table with their masters." The word hit Taman like a physical blow. Servants. That was how they saw humanity. Not partners, not equals, but servants. He looked around the chamber at faces both familiar and strange, searching for even one voice of support. He found none that far across the galaxy on Refuge Station. Dr. Yoonji Kwan had no time to think about politics. She was trying to save a child's life. The small Vril infant lay on the medical table, its crystalline exoskeleton flickering with sickly colors. Around her, 3 Vril parents made clicking sounds of distress. "The genetic degradation is accelerating," Yoonji said, examining her displays. "But I think I can stabilize it. The treatment I developed last month should work." She had been on Refuge Station for 2 years, working almost without rest to solve a problem that had plagued the Vril species for generations. Their children were being born with defective genetic codes, and no Vril scientist had been able to determine why. Yoonji had solved it in 6 months. Now she spent her days saving lives, one child at a time. "You are a miracle worker," one of the Vril parents clicked. "We are forever grateful." Yoonji smiled tiredly. Grateful was good, but it never translated into actual respect at the higher levels. The Vril Council still spoke to human doctors like they were talented animals performing tricks on the industrial world of Coulter Prime. Engineer Jiho Song wiped sweat from his forehead as he inspected the massive manufacturing complex his team had spent 18 months rebuilding. The Coltarians had let their entire industrial base collapse through sheer neglect and mismanagement. They had built incredible things once, thousands of years ago, but those days were long gone. Now they just coasted on ancient reputation while humans did the actual work. "This is magnificent," Jiho said to his second-in-command, a young engineer named Borum. "Everything works perfectly. Power distribution is optimized. The manufacturing lines are more efficient than the originals, and the safety systems are state-of-the-art." Borum nodded but looked troubled. "Do you think they will appreciate it?" Before Jiho could answer, the Coltarian overseer lumbered into the facility. He was enormous, easily 3 times the mass of a human, with thick gray skin and small eyes that seemed perpetually suspicious. Human engineers, the overseer rumbled. I have reviewed your work, and? Jiho asked hopefully. It is adequate, barely, but it lacks the sophistication of true Coltarian design. You will need to rebuild everything to match our superior standards. Jiho stared at him in disbelief. What standards? Your entire industrial base was non-functional when we arrived. We used the most advanced techniques available in the galaxy. Do not presume to lecture me about Coltarian capabilities, the overseer snapped. You are here to serve, not to think. You will begin the redesign immediately. In orbit above Earth, Admiral Hiron Nam sat in her command chair aboard the flagship Unity, reviewing reports from human forces spread across the galaxy. Every report told the same story. Humans doing the hard work, solving the impossible problems, keeping the galaxy running, and receiving nothing but disdain in return. Her communication console chimed. It was Teeman, calling from the orbital station after his disastrous council session. They called us servants, Teeman said without preamble. Not colleagues. Not partners. Servants. Hiron had served in the fleet for 30 years. She had fought in wars that protected alien worlds, rescued populations from natural disasters, and maintained peace in sectors that would have burned without human intervention. She had lost friends and crew members in service to the galaxy. And for what? What are we still doing here? Hiron asked quietly. The question hung in the space between them. It was not a casual question. It was the question, the one that had been building for decades, but no one had dared to speak aloud. Timon was silent for a long moment. I am going to call an emergency session of the Earth government. I think it is time we had a serious conversation about humanity's place in this galaxy. Or our absence from it, Hiron added. That night, President Minho Kang sat in his office in Seoul, listening to reports from every corner of human space. Ambassadors, engineers, doctors, soldiers, teachers, all telling the same story. Humanity gave everything and received contempt in return. The decision began to form, slowly but inevitably, like a star collapsing into itself before it explodes into light. The emergency session of Earth's government took place in a secure facility deep beneath the surface. President Minho Kang stood before a room filled with every major leader of humanity. Military commanders, scientific directors, colonial governors, and economic ministers. Every face showed the same exhaustion, the same frustration. We all know why we are here, Minho began. The question before us is simple but profound. What does humanity gain from our participation in galactic society? The room fell silent. It was the kind of silence that comes when everyone knows the answer, but no one wants to say it first. Admiral Hiron Nam stood up. I will say what we are all thinking. We gain nothing. Worse than nothing. We are used, disrespected, and treated as inferior despite being the ones holding this entire galaxy together. Our scientists cure their diseases, added Dr. Yuna Han, Earth's chief medical officer. Our engineers build their infrastructure. Our soldiers fight their wars. And what do we receive? Permission to continue serving them. Tamin pulled up displays showing voting records from the Galactic Council over the past decade. Look at these patterns. Every proposal that would benefit Earth is voted down. Every request for technology sharing is denied. Every attempt at equal partnership is rejected. But every demand for our resources, our labor, our blood is approved unanimously. Colonial Governor Sun Wu Lee spoke up from his seat. The Mars colony requested basic terraforming equipment last year. Equipment we invented, by the way. The Council denied our request, saying we had not earned the privilege. Meanwhile, they demand we send our engineers to terraform 3 alien worlds this year alone. It gets worse, said General Kyung Park, gesturing to his own displays. The Council just voted to conscript 50,000 human soldiers for a border conflict in the Outer Rim. Conflict that exists only because the species involved refused to negotiate. We offered diplomatic solutions. They were ignored. Now they want our people to die fixing their mistakes. Minho looked around the room. I have been reviewing our projections. What would happen if humanity withdrew from galactic affairs entirely? The economic minister, a sharp woman named Jisoo Shin, stood to present her analysis. I have been studying this question for months. The answer is startling. Earth's economy would improve by 34% within the first year. We currently provide far more resources than we receive. Our technology development is actually slowed by galactic restrictions. Our population spends enormous effort supporting alien worlds that give us nothing in return. What about them? Someone asked. What happens to the galaxy without us? Dr. Yuna pulled up medical projections. 17 ongoing epidemics that only human doctors know how to treat. 6 species facing extinction-level medical crises that we are currently preventing. Countless hospitals and medical facilities that will cease to function without human staff. An infrastructure analyst named Daeho Kim added his report. 412 major construction or maintenance projects across the galaxy, all dependent on human engineers. The Kultarians do not actually know how to run their own factories anymore. They have not built anything without our help in 3 generations. The same is true for at least 20 other major industrial worlds. The peacekeeping situation is worst of all, General Kyung continued. There are currently 37 active conflicts that human forces are preventing from escalating into wars. Without us, at least half of those will explode within months. The death toll would be in the millions. The room absorbed this information in heavy silence. Humanity was not just participating in galactic society. They were the foundation holding it up. TAEMIN stood again. I want to be clear about what we are discussing. If we leave, people will die. Infrastructure will collapse. Suffering will increase dramatically. Can we accept that responsibility? Admiral Iron's voice was hard. Can we accept the responsibility of staying? Of condemning future generations of humans to servitude? Of teaching our children that their role in the universe is to serve others who despise them? They do not even thank us, said Dr. Yuna quietly. I have saved thousands of alien lives. I have never received genuine gratitude, only expectations of more service. Minho looked at each person in the room. We need to make a decision, not just for ourselves, but for every human alive and every human yet to be born. Do we stay and accept permanent second-class status? Or do we leave and let the galaxy learn to take care of itself? There's a third option, suggested Sunwoo. We could demand better treatment. Threaten to leave unless they give us respect. Hiren shook her head. Empty threats are worse than no threats. And if we make demands and they refuse, we're back where we started. No. If we do this, we do it cleanly. We leave, and we leave completely. How would it even work? Asked Jisoo. We have millions of humans scattered across hundreds of worlds. We bring them all home, Hiren said simply. Every human, every ship, every piece of technology we created. We pack up and go, and then we close the door. We dismantle the quantum gates connecting Earth to the galaxy. We establish a defensive perimeter. We go silent. The weight of what they were discussing settled over the room like a physical force. This was not just a political decision or an economic calculation. This was about fundamentally changing humanity's place in the universe. Minho called for a vote. All those in favor of initiating complete withdrawal from galactic affairs, raise your hand. Every hand in the room went up. Not quickly, not eagerly, but with grim determination. Then it is decided, Minho said. We will begin Operation Homecoming immediately. I will personally draft the withdrawal message to the Galactic Council. Admiral Nam, you will coordinate the evacuation of all human personnel and assets. This needs to happen simultaneously across the entire galaxy. If we do this, we do it all at once. Hiron nodded. Understood. How long do we have to prepare? 3 months, Minho decided. We use that time to quietly prepare, to get everyone in position. Then on day 0, everyone leaves at the same time. No advance warning. No debate. We just go. The meeting ended, but no one left quickly. They all understood they had just made a decision that would change galactic history forever. Humanity was about to walk away from the stars, and the galaxy had no idea what was coming. The morning of day 0 began like any other morning across the galaxy. Alien species woke to their routines, confident that the humans would be there to fix their problems, heal their sick, and maintain their comfortable lives. They had no idea that everything was about to change. On Refuge Station, Dr. Yoonji Kwon finished treating her last Vril patient. The infant's crystalline structure glowed with healthy colors now, the genetic degradation reversed. The parents made clicking sounds of joy and relief. You have saved our child, the mother said. When will you return to check on the progress? Yoonji felt a heaviness in her chest. I will not be returning. I have uploaded all of my research to the station's medical database. Everything you need to continue the treatments is there. Complete instructions, detailed procedures, every piece of data I collected. The Vril parents stared at her in confusion. But we do not understand much of this research. We need you to guide us. You can learn, Yoonji said gently. I have included teaching materials, video guides, simplified explanations. Everything is there. You have smart scientists among your people. They can do this, but why would you leave? We need you. Yoonji picked up her last case of equipment. I have my own people to care for now. Good luck. I truly hope your species thrives. She walked out of the medical bay, through corridors she had known for 2 years, and boarded the last human shuttle. As the doors closed, she could hear the Vril calling after her, begging her to stay. She did not look back. On Coulter Prime, engineer Jiho Song stood in the center of the manufacturing complex he had spent 18 months rebuilding. The Coulterian overseer stood nearby, pompous as always, ready to deliver another lecture about supposed Coulterian superiority. Human Jiho, the overseer began. Have you begun the redesign, as I ordered? No, Jiho said simply. The overseer's small eyes widened. What did you say? I said no. The facility is 80% complete. It works perfectly. It will serve your people well for generations if you maintain it properly. All the maintenance instructions are in the system computers. You cannot simply leave your work unfinished. I forbid it. Jiho gestured to his team. They picked up their tools and began walking toward the landing pad where their transport waited. We can, and we are. You wanted Coulterian sophistication? Here is your chance to prove you still have it. Finish the last 20% yourselves. The overseer's voice rose to a roar. You are under contract. You have obligations. Check the contract, Jiho called over his shoulder. There is a clause about respectful working conditions. You violated it repeatedly. We are within our rights to terminate. The last image Jiho had of Coulter Prime was the overseer standing alone in the massive facility, finally understanding that he had no idea how any of it actually worked in the frontier zone. Captain Dallin Choi ordered his peacekeeping fleet to withdraw from the border region where 3 species had been squabbling for decades. His ships had kept the conflict frozen, preventing it from exploding into full war. Now he pulled them all back. His communication officer looked worried. Sir, the avian commander is demanding to know why we are leaving. He says our withdrawal will cause the conflict to reignite. Send them a message, Dowan said calmly. Tell them we recommend diplomacy. They are all intelligent species. They can figure out how to talk to each other. But sir, they have been refusing to negotiate for years. That is their choice. It was never our job to babysit species who refuse to act like adults. The fleet jumped to faster-than-light travel, leaving the frontier zone behind. Within hours of their departure, the first shots were fired. The war that humanity had prevented for so long finally began. Across the galaxy, the same scene repeated thousands of times. Human doctors walked out of hospitals, leaving behind complete medical records and treatment plans. Human teachers left universities after uploading all their lectures and materials. Human engineers departed construction sites with detailed completion instructions. Human peacekeepers withdrew from conflict zones with simple messages about diplomacy. Every human followed the same protocol. Leave everything organized. Leave complete documentation. Give them every tool they need to continue without help. Then leave and do not look back. The Galactic Council noticed the pattern within hours. Counselor Vex was the first to sound the alarm. The humans are evacuating. All of them. Everywhere. At the same time. Counselor Thren pulled up displays showing human movements across the galaxy. Every ship heading toward Earth. Every station being abandoned. Every project being left behind. This must be a mistake, Thren said, but his voice lacked confidence. Some kind of emergency recall. They will return. Then the message arrived. It was from Ambassador Teeman Park, though his title no longer seemed to apply. To the Galactic Council and all member species. Humanity hereby withdraws from all galactic affairs, effective immediately. We have served faithfully for nearly 3 centuries. We have given our knowledge, our labor, and our lives in service to this community. We have received only contempt in return. We are no longer willing to accept the role of servants in a society that refuses to treat us as equals. All human personnel are returning to Earth. All human technology and resources are being withdrawn. We leave behind complete documentation of our work. You have everything you need to continue without us. We wish you well in your future endeavors. This is our final communication. Goodbye. The council chamber erupted in chaos. Some species were outraged at the disrespect. Others were panicking about the implications. A few sat in stunned silence, finally understanding what they had lost. Send a delegation to Earth immediately, Vex ordered. We need to negotiate their return. On what terms? Asked a junior counselor. What can we offer them that they do not already have? The question hung unanswered at the edge of the Sol system. The last human ships arrived home. Admiral Hiran Nam watched from Unity's bridge as the massive fleet assembled in Earth orbit. Thousands of vessels carrying millions of humans, all coming home. All personnel accounted for, her second officer reported. Total evacuation successful. Not a single human left behind in galactic space. Hiran nodded. Begin Phase 2. Dismantle the quantum gates. Establish the defensive perimeter. And cut all communication channels. Earth's quantum gates, the connections that allowed instant communication and travel across the galaxy, began to disassemble. The massive structures broke apart in controlled sequences, their exotic matter cores, carefully contained and stored. The last gate collapsed with a pulse of energy that rippled across space-time. Earth was now isolated from the galactic network, unreachable except by conventional faster-than-light travel, which would take weeks or months from the nearest alien worlds. President Minho Kang addressed the people of Earth in a broadcast that reached every human settlement in the solar system. Today we have done something unprecedented. We have chosen ourselves. We have chosen our dignity. We have chosen our future. The galaxy will have to learn to survive without us. And we will thrive without them. Across human space, people watched the broadcast with mixed emotions. Relief, sadness, hope, uncertainty. But underlying it all was something new. Something that had been missing for generations. Pride. The first week after humanity's departure, the galaxy remained in denial. Species across countless worlds convinced themselves that the humans would return. It was a bluff, they said. A negotiating tactic. Humans were too soft-hearted to truly abandon those in need. The second week brought the first disasters. On Refuge Station, the Vril medical staff tried to continue Dr. Yoonji Kwan's work. They had her research files, her detailed notes, her video instructions. They had everything except understanding. The genetic treatments required precise timing and specific dosages that varied based on factors. The Vril scientists could not quite grasp. Dr. Nalix, the lead Vril physician, stared at the displays showing another infant's failing crystalline structure. The human's notes say to adjust the gene therapy based on harmonic resonance patterns, but I do not understand what that means in practice. Did you watch her instructional videos? Asked his assistant. Yes, multiple times. She explains it clearly, but when I try to replicate her actions, it does not work the same way. The infant on the table flickered with sickly colors. Its parents made desperate clicking sounds. Nalix tried the treatment again, following Yoonji's instructions as precisely as he could. The infant's condition stabilized briefly, then worsened. 3 hours later, it died. It was the first Vril child to die from genetic degradation in 2 years. It would not be the last. On Coulter Prime, the celebration of humanity's departure lasted exactly 6 days. That was when the main power grid collapsed. The Coultarian overseer stood in the dark manufacturing facility, surrounded by engineers who had no idea how to fix the problem. Just restart the system, he ordered. We have tried, one engineer replied nervously. The restart protocols are not working. The human engineers configured the system in a way we do not understand, then used the old Coultarian methods. Those methods do not work with the new infrastructure. Everything is integrated differently now. The overseer pulled up Jiho Song's detailed maintenance documentation. Pages and pages of instructions, diagrams, and procedures. It might as well have been written in an alien language. The Coultarians had not maintained their own infrastructure in so long that they no longer understood the fundamental principles. Within 2 weeks, half of Coulter Prime's industrial capacity was offline. Within a month, the planet faced food shortages as the agricultural automation systems failed. In the frontier zone, the war that Captain Diwan Choi had prevented for years exploded into full violence. The 3 species, freed from human peacekeeping, immediately escalated their territorial dispute. The avian sovereignty launched strikes against mining colonies. The Crystalline Confederacy retaliated by destroying orbital stations. The Reptilian Combine blockaded trade routes. What had been a manageable disagreement became a bloodbath that spread to 6 star systems. Council of Vex, himself an avian, watched reports of the devastation with growing horror. How did the humans keep this from happening? He asked his military advisor. They positioned their ships in ways that made aggression impossible without hitting their peacekeepers. And they maintained constant diplomatic pressure on all sides. We have ships. We can do the same. The advisor shook his head. Our species cannot work together the way humans did. We do not trust each other enough, and none of us want to take casualties protecting others. The war continued. Thousands died in the first month. Tens of thousands in the second. Across the galaxy, the pattern repeated. Medical facilities closed because no one could operate the human-designed equipment. Construction projects ground to a halt because the techniques were too complex for local workers. Educational institutions struggled because the best teaching methods had come from human educators. The Galactic Council met in emergency session. The chamber that had once been filled with pompous speeches now echoed with panic and blame. "This is a catastrophe," declared High Engineer Torvin of the Kultarians. "Our industrial capacity has dropped by 70%. We face widespread shortages of basic necessities." "The medical crisis is worse," said Healer Thomases of the Crystallans. 17 species are experiencing plague outbreaks that only human doctors knew how to treat. The death toll is already in the millions. "The humans left us their research," someone protested weakly. "Their documentation, which we cannot understand," Torvin roared. "They made everything look so easy when they did it. We never learned because we never had to. They did everything for us." Councillor Thren, the ancient reptilian who had once laughed at humanity's request for a council seat, sat in silence throughout the debate. He had been reviewing records of human contributions over the past 3 centuries. The numbers were staggering. Humans had resolved 412 major conflicts through peacekeeping and diplomacy. They had cured 37 species-ending plagues. They had built or maintained infrastructure on over 600 worlds. They had educated 3 generations of galactic citizens. They had done all of this while receiving minimal compensation and constant disrespect. "We did not lose servants," Thren said quietly, interrupting the chaos. "We lost the only truly noble species in the galaxy." The chamber fell silent. "They gave us everything," Thren continued. "Not because they were weak or stupid or inferior. They gave because they chose to. Because they believed in helping others. Because they were better than us." His voice cracked. "And we spat on that gift. We called them servants. We laughed at their request for equality. We took and gave nothing back. What do we do now?" Someone asked. Thren looked around at the assembled species. "We learn to survive without them. Or we do not survive at all." Delegations were sent to Earth. They arrived at the Sol System's boundary to find an automated defense perimeter that politely but firmly turned them away. A simple recorded message played. "Humanity is not accepting visitors. Please respect our boundaries." The delegations tried negotiation, threats, and pleas. The automated systems responded to none of it. 4 months after humanity's departure, the galactic economy was in free fall. Trade routes that humans had maintained were now too dangerous to use. Manufacturing that had depended on human expertise had ceased. Medical care had regressed by centuries. Educational institutions were closing. Wars raged unchecked in the council chambers. Species that had once held themselves superior to humanity now faced a truth they could not deny. They were not advanced civilizations at all. They were the remnants of advanced civilizations, toasting on ancient achievements and propped up by human labor. Without humanity, they were collapsing back into chaos. Councillor Vex stood before the assembly, his bright feathers dulled with stress. "I propose we offer humanity everything. A permanent council seat, full voting rights, equal status in all matters, control of our shared resources. Whatever they want, and if they refuse?" asked Healer THOSS. The question hung in the air, unanswered, because they all knew the truth. Humanity did not need the galaxy anymore. They never really had. The galaxy, meanwhile, was discovering just how much it had needed humanity, and how impossible it would be to survive without them. 1 year after humanity walked away, the galaxy had learned to survive. Barely. The death toll from medical crises had stabilized in the tens of millions. Infrastructure had degraded, but not completely collapsed. Wars still raged, but had settled into grim stalemates. The galaxy continued to exist, but it was a shadow of what it had been. The Galactic Council, humbled and desperate, assembled one final delegation. They chose Councillor Thren to lead it. The old reptilian had become an unexpected voice of honesty in the council, consistently reminding other species of their failures. Alongside him came representatives from every major species that had once dismissed humanity as servants, though they approached the Sol system with transmissions of peace, offers of reconciliation, and genuine apologies recorded in hundreds of languages. The automated defense perimeter allowed them to enter, but stopped them at the outer orbital platforms. Far from Earth itself, Admiral Hiram Nam met them there. She arrived not in her flagship, but in a simple diplomatic shuttle. She did not invite them aboard any human station. The meeting took place in neutral space, aboard a temporary platform constructed just for this conversation. Thren saw her through the viewing screen and felt something he had not experienced in decades: shame. Hiram looked different from the last time they'd met. More confident, more peaceful. She had the bearing of someone who had finally found where she belonged. Counselor Thren. Hiram greeted him with professional courtesy but no warmth. You requested this meeting. I am listening. Thren gathered his dignity. Admiral Nam, I speak on behalf of the entire Galactic Council. We come to offer our sincere apologies for how we treated humanity. We were wrong. Profoundly, catastrophically wrong. Noted, Hiram said simply. The bluntness threw Thren off balance. He had expected anger or at least some satisfaction. Instead, he found only polite indifference. Counselor Vex spoke up, his feathers rustling nervously. We wish to formally offer humanity a permanent seat on the Galactic Council. Full voting rights. Equal status in all decisions. We also propose favorable trade agreements, technology sharing, and— No, thank you. Hiram interrupted. The delegation stared at her in silence. Vex found his voice first. You refuse? But this is everything you asked for a year ago. A year ago, yes. But we have learned something important in that time. We do not need you. But the galaxy needs you, Thren said urgently. Surely you have seen the reports. The medical crises, the infrastructure failures, the wars. I have seen the reports, Hiram confirmed. I have also seen Earth's reports. In the past year, our economy has grown by 38%. Our technology development has accelerated beyond anything we achieved while serving the Council. Our people are happier, healthier, and more fulfilled than they have been in generations. She pulled up displays showing human colonies thriving throughout the Sol system. New cities on Mars gleaming under terraforming domes. Orbital habitats that had doubled in size. Research facilities making breakthroughs in fields the galaxy had declared off-limits to humanity. We were told for 3 centuries that we needed the galaxy, Hiram continued. That we were too young, too primitive, too unsophisticated to stand alone. It was a lie. We were never the ones who needed this relationship. President Minho Kang appeared via hologram, not bothering to attend the meeting in person. The message was clear. This delegation was not important enough for his physical presence. Counselors, Minho said, with a polite smile that did not reach his eyes. I appreciate that you have come all this way, but I want to be absolutely clear. Humanity is not returning to galactic affairs. Not for apologies. Not for council seats. Not for anything. But people are dying, Vex pleaded. Species are going extinct. Wars are destroying civilizations. You could stop this suffering. We could, Minho agreed. Just as you could have stopped suffering for centuries by treating us with basic respect. You chose not to. Now we are choosing not to. That is cruel, said Healer Thomases of the Crystallines. Is it? Minho's voice hardened slightly. Was it not cruel to demand 50,000 of our soldiers for your wars? Was it not cruel to deny us technology we invented? Was it not cruel to laugh when we asked for equality? Thren raised a clawed hand. President Kang, you are correct. We were cruel. Unforgivably so. But surely you do not wish to perpetuate that cruelty. We are not being cruel, Minho said firmly. We are being fair. You have the tools you need. We left comprehensive documentation of everything we built. We left medical research, engineering specifications, diplomatic frameworks. You have our knowledge. What you do with it is your responsibility. But we cannot understand it all, Torvin said desperately. The complexity, then learn, Hiron interrupted. You are all ancient species with long, proud histories. You built incredible civilizations before humanity even existed. Surely you can figure out how to maintain basic infrastructure and cure diseases. The truth in her words stung worse than any insult. Ambassador Teeman Park joined the holographic conference. He was no longer an ambassador to anyone, but wore the title like a memory. I spent 12 years trying to convince you that humanity deserved respect. I gave speeches. I presented evidence. I pleaded. You never listened. Now, you are here pleading with us, and you finally understand how it felt. What will it take? Vex asked quietly. What can we offer that would change your minds? Nothing. All three humans said simultaneously. Minho elaborated. You had something precious and irreplaceable. A species that gave freely, without counting the cost. A people who helped others because it was right, not because it was profitable. You treated that gift like garbage. Even if you could somehow convince us to return, the relationship is broken beyond repair. We will never trust you again. Thren felt tears forming in his ancient eyes. Then this is truly goodbye. It was goodbye a year ago, Hiron said, not unkindly. This meeting is just confirming what both sides already knew. May I ask one question? Thren said. Not as a counselor, but as someone who finally understands his mistakes. Do you hate us? Hiron considered this carefully. No, hate requires caring. We are simply indifferent. You are not our concern anymore. The delegation returned to the council chambers with empty hands and heavy hearts. They stood before the assembled species and delivered the crushing news. Humanity is not coming back, Thren announced. Not now. Not ever. They do not hate us. They simply do not care about us anymore. And we have no one to blame but ourselves. The chamber sat in absolute silence. It was not the shocked silence of surprise. It was the heavy silence of a truth finally fully understood. What do we do now? Someone finally asked. We learn to be what we once were, Thren said. Or we accept that we are no longer the advanced civilizations we pretend to be. Either way, we do it without humanity. On Earth, Dr. Yoonji Kwon stood in her new laboratory, working on treatments for diseases that affected human colonists in the outer Sol system. She had heard about the delegation's visit and its outcome. She felt a small pang of sadness for the Vril children she had saved, wondering if any had survived the past year, but only a small pang. She had her own people to care for now, her own challenges to solve. And for the first time in her career, she was appreciated for her work. Jiho Song walked through the new industrial complex on Mars, a facility he had designed from scratch using techniques he had always wanted to try, but the Coltarians had forbidden as too experimental. The complex was more efficient than anything he had built in galactic space. He felt proud of what humanity could achieve when not held back. Captain Dallin Choi commanded a fleet that now protected human interests exclusively. No more babysitting alien species who refused to negotiate. No more dying for causes that were not his own. He trained new pilots and taught them the most important lesson he had learned. They did not owe the galaxy anything. Admiral Hiron sat in her office, reviewing reports of human expansion. New colonies were being established on moons throughout the Sol system. Population was growing. Technology was advancing. Art, science, philosophy, all flourishing in ways they never had when humanity was focused on serving others. President Minho gave a speech to Earth on the one-year anniversary of the Exodus. We were told that leaving the galaxy would diminish us, that we needed them more than they needed us, that we could not survive alone. We have proven all of that wrong. We are stronger now, freer, and infinitely happier. We made the right choice. Across human civilization, billions agreed. The galaxy learned to live with humanity's absence. Some species adapted better than others. A few managed to reverse their decline through hard work and rediscovery of their own capabilities. Many did not. The Galactic Council continued to exist, but its influence waned. The grand dreams of a united galaxy faded into squabbling and survival. They had been given a gift of immeasurable value and thrown it away. Humanity had walked away from the stars, leaving the galaxy speechless. Not with awe, but with the devastating realization of what they had lost and could never reclaim. And humanity never looked back.